Wiebe, Bobby Warshaw, Matt Doyle here with you. We go straight to the lineup because that's what you care about. The U.S.-Italy coverage starting on 2:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1, Unimas and UDN. Oh boy, guys. This is the youngest lineup in the modern era. It is the youngest captain in Christian Pulisic in the modern era. He's just 20 years old. Landon Donovan had the honor when he was 22. Sargent, Pulisic up top. In the midfield, Kellyn Acosta, Tyler Adams, Marky Delgado, all MLS there. They got Shaq Moore, Reggie Cannon as your outside backs in what looks like a 5-3-2. Aaron Long, Walker Zimmerman, Cameron Carter-Vickers across the back with Ethan Horvath in goal. What do you think?
I really like this lineup because it has data points for the next manager. This performance against Italy is not the important thing. We're not going to sit here and tell you whether they win or lose today matters that much. Today is about giving the next manager something to watch and something to learn for when he makes that lineup. And I like the 3-5-2. I like that Aaron Long is in the starting lineup. I like that Tyler Adams as a 6, and that Christian Pulisic seems to have a free role as a second forward. Those are all things that the new head coach, whenever he comes, can observe and then use.
Here is the Italy lineup for this game. Kevin Lasagna up top. He had 12 goals, double digits, for Udinese last year, still with them. And then you see some guys you know well, Verratti, PSG, of course, Bonucci, et cetera, et cetera. This is not a first team, quote unquote, for Italy. It's not a first team, quote unquote, for the U.S. as well. Just one starter from England carrying over. But that has been kind of part and parcel of the last year under Dave Sarachan. Players in and out, players unavailable, players injured, players being introduced. Just trying to find some semblance of the player pool that will be what the next manager, whoever that is, taps into in the upcoming years. Those are his thoughts on the 11, Doyle. When I see it, I just think fun. Mm-hmm. And every time I think fun with the U.S. national team, it's a good thing these days. So I'm completely good with it. Give me young, give me attacking, give me a different formation. All good. We're still waiting for a head coach. What do you think?
I think you just about covered it right there. So I'm done. I'm just, I'm out.
No. Get back in the seat.
It should be fun in certain ways, seeing Sargent and Pulisic try to combine a little bit. I like the idea of experimenting with Pulisic as kind of that free 10 role and see if he can run off of the work that Sargent does and that midfield will do in order to get space in behind the defense. Again, there are data points here that the next coach could use in terms of individual performances. It's hard to put too much stock into it because the best data points to use are ones that come within a structure. And we don't know what the structure of the next coach, we just don't know. But it's good, man. Italy are roughly in the same spot we are. They missed the World Cup as well, so they're rebuilding, but it's still Italy. It's still a really good, talented team. And anytime you could put a bunch of young guys into the blender against a team like that, you get a sense of who's going to meet the moment mentally, emotionally, physically.
Now, both of us would prefer Christian Pulisic wide. We both think that he is best used as a winger. But if you are going to play him central, this would be the spot to do it. Have him off a striker in a 3-5-2 when he can, A, get the ball and just fly straight ahead, but B, kind of roam and go where he wants. He doesn't have to sit in between the lines. He doesn't have to stay central because there's a second player up there in front of him. He can float and really find the game.
We'll dig into that in a second. He is the youngest captain for the U.S. in modern history at 20 years of age. This lineup here, 22 years, 71 days average. That's another record for the U.S. in that sense. Kellyn Acosta, Christian Pulisic, the most experienced players with 23 caps. Nobody else has more than 9. And that player, Tyler Adams, got his debut against Portugal last year, about this time. So it's a very young roster. All right, our poll question for this show is as follows. Which sweater is best? Matt Doyle, Bobby Warshaw with the patches, or the plain cream here that I'm rocking? No, that's not true. It is, how are you feeling about the U.S. in 2018? We had productive, not great but hopeful, which is winning right now at 42%. Not good at 32%, and tear it all down at 18%. Where do you guys stand in this poll?
I am not good but hopeful. I did want us to have a coach by now. Not enamored of the process that it appears we've been using to find the coach, but I do think that if it settles on Greg Berhalter, I would be happy with that. He's an excellent coach. I love the young talent coming through this team, and it starts with Pulisic, but it's also Adams, it's Weston McKennie who's not there today because of injury, but it's also guys like Aaron Long and Walker Zimmerman that we're going to see in this one. Guys who I think maybe could have been worked into the player pool a little bit sooner, but they're here now and they're getting a chance like this. And just getting to see that, getting to see Reggie Cannon at right wing back, getting to see Kellyn Acosta rediscovering some of his form, that does have me hopeful for the future. So, I mean, it's not what we all wanted, but it's something.
Here is 2018 in a nutshell for you. 3 wins, 4 losses, 3 draws, 10 goals scored, 13 goals allowed. Bobby, the last year in a nutshell, what do you make of it?
I will have the word hopeful in this because that's what I choose to be. It's a national team. I friggin' love the national team, right? I really enjoy what they bring to my life, so I choose to be hopeful. But I do think the word I would put before that, and it wasn't even an option, was bad. You know, not having a coach who could build us towards something. I was fine at 3 months without a coach. I was fine at 6 months without a coach. I was fine at 9 and 12 months. But it's for me personally, it's crossed the line when I'm just like, what is going on? How do we know that whatever process is taking place won't land us in the same predicament down the road?
Greg Berhalter, as Doyle said, the presumptive favorite on this one. Still no official news to report to you on that one. Christian Pulisic, though, gets a leadership position in this team, this very, very young team.
Right after he called out Dave Sarakin a little bit.
A little bit he did. Yeah, well, I think he more, in my opinion, he was more saying, hey, let's get a plan. I'm not sure it was Sarakin he was calling out rather than the folks making the decision as to who the next head coach will be. Christian Pulisic as a captain, Christian Pulisic as a second forward, Sargent and Pulisic. Talk to me about that partnership.
I just want to talk about the captain part real quick, because I'm actually concerned about this idea that he needs to take on a leadership role, because I've seen players in my career, very talented, who managers would give an armband to or give the vice captaincy to try and lift them up, and they just haven't responded. Some players don't want to be the focal point. Some players actually don't want to have to yell at other people and hold them accountable. They're at their best. I'm not saying that's the kind of player Christian Pulisic is. We don't know yet, but this rush to make him the leader of the team, are there a ton of players around the world who are the most creative player on their team, but also the best leader? I'm not sure, so I'm a little hesitant about that part, but I am excited to see what he does with the arm.
I agree with you, but to get back to Andrew's question about Sargent and Pulisic, if Josh Sargent is the player that he's looked like at the youth levels, then maybe Christian Pulisic isn't the most creative player on the team anymore. Which isn't to say he's not the best, which isn't to say he's not the most dangerous in the attack, but Sargent is capable of spectacular things, passing the ball, his link-up play, his understanding of space. He's not the athlete that Pulisic is, but his feet are soft, and he does all the unselfish stuff that you want to see out of a center forward. And oh, by the way, he scores some goals too. So getting the chance to see how, I think it'll be Sargent opening up space for Pulisic, getting to see how that happens today, that's the thing I'm most focused in on in this game.
Of course, we're going to break it all down afterwards. Club and Country coming at you pre-game every single time the U.S. play, and post-game, this time 5 p.m. Eastern after U.S.-Italy from Genk in Belgium, where the U.S. have never won a game on Belgian soil. We'll see if that changes today. Of course, 2012, Clint Dempsey got it done in Genoa. 1-0 win against the Italians. We'll talk about Dave Sarakin in just a second, but I want to talk about the back line. He trotted out in the formation here. What is it? Is it a 5-3-2? Is it, as you said, Bobby, a 3-5-2? Mm-hmm. How will it play in this game? What does it say? What's the game plan?
I'd like to think it's a 3-5-2 because that suggests we're going for it a little more and we're going to try and press and be on the front foot. But this just feels to me like Sarakin is trying to get his best 11 players on the field who are available right now. You know, he doesn't want to play the guys 2 games in 1 week. Christian Pulisic is the only guy who's going to start again. This feels to me not so much tactical or stylistic as much as who are the 11 guys that I want to get on the field today and how can we make it work?
I think it probably would be a 5-3-2 or maybe even a 5-4-1, depending on what they do with that midfield. If Christian Pulisic has to drop back, it could end up looking a little bit like a diamond midfield with Josh Sargent stranded maybe, but it's also, that's the look that Costa Rica has used so often this decade to become a really good team internationally. Just be really solid with a block of 9 guys at the back, and then you have that outlet center forward. So we could end up seeing some of that.
And we opened the show talking about data points. The one thing to look at here is I do think if you play Tyler Adams as your 6, you're better off with 3 center backs behind him, because to fully utilize a guy like Tyler Adams as your deepest player,
he's got to be able to go.
You've got to let him go. But if he's going to go and it's going to leave that space vacated, you need to have 3 players, because then it's more freedom for one of them to go and to step up. So that's what I'll be looking out for. Is I don't think he did this on purpose, but I am glad to see 3 behind him.
And by the way, not the first time the U.S. have played with 5 at the back under Dave Sarakin. Also played that way against France, which is 1-1 draw against the World Cup champions. Granted, just a friendly. Don't read too much into it, but don't read nothing into it.
Right.
And if you look at our player pool too, if you look at the U.S. men's national team player pool, the weakest position is probably winger. Timothy Weah is stepping up lately. Jonathan Iman stepping up.
I think I disagree with that. I still think the weakest position is left back.
Okay, but even still, even looking at this, right,
yeah,
you are more likely to find a left wing back than a left back. Maybe you can change someone into a left wing back. So I think it also allows the national team to get 3 center backs on the field because that's a bigger part of our player pool.
Chris Armas got to be watching this thinking, oh, 2 of my starters in that game on Sunday, the first leg of the Eastern Conference Championship, are starting in this game. Saracen, we saw that record from the previous year. Of course, he took over against Portugal. He was the caretaker manager at that time. We thought it would just be 1 game. Then it was January camp. Then it was a couple more months. Then it was the summer. Then it was all the way at the end of 2018. Grade Dave Saracen's time as the national team head coach for me. What was his job? Has he accomplished it? How will he exit this whenever that happens?
I think he maybe maxed out his abilities as a coach, just in terms of getting the young guy. His first job was to get the young guys in and give them a lot of caps. And he's done that with everyone from Adams and Pulisic to Amon and to Sargent to Weah, and, from front to back, he's done that. The second thing was get a couple of results. He did that most notably against Mexico, but they were good against Paraguay. They were good against Peru. Yep. They were good against France, obviously. They were good against to start this whole thing off. So he did that as well. And where he bumped up against his ceiling was this team hasn't really played with structure. They haven't really played with direction, and it's hard to ask a lot of that if you're an interim coach and if you're blooding so many new players. So he B minus. He mostly checked all the boxes, and I think whatever happens today, he has something to be proud of, for sure.
He had an impossible job.
Yeah.
Really. When you take that into account, how down people were on the program, here we are, we're watching the game where we're a little bit down again.
And you know how U.S. fans would be like if his team was going out there and killing England and killing Colombia and killing Brazil, and Dave Saracen was going to get the job because the teams were playing so well. U.S. fans would be furious about that as well. So it was a no-win situation for him.
And he's done well given those circumstances.
All right, 2:30 p.m. Eastern.
What's up, you, Bobby?
Right now, coverage starts on FS1 Unimas and UDN. The game starts at 2:45 p.m. Eastern. We will, of course, be right back here on Club and Country after it is all said and done. The breakdown. Who stood out? Demerits. Maybe a head coach? Probably not. Let's not kid ourselves. Enjoy the game, everybody. We'll see you real soon.